Good morning students. I welcome you all for the class. Today we are going to discuss regarding what do you mean by a semaphore and what are the advantages and disadvantages of using a semaphore, and also one of the solutions of Peterson's we are going to see. Fine, these are the things we will be going to see in our today's class. So, before going to this why we need and why we are going for the semaphores, let me explain you what do you mean by a semaphore and what are the advantages of using a semaphore, and we are also having the drawbacks of using a semaphore too. So, first of all you will be going to see what do you mean by a semaphore. First of all, being discussing regarding about a semaphore, in the last classes we have seen regarding a critical section problem, right? So what do you mean by a critical section problem? Critical section problem in the sense only one process should be allowed into that critical section. Why we are going for the critical section? In the sense, in order to not to have race condition between the processes, we are going for the critical section. And when we are going for this critical section, in the sense, if you are going to have many number of processes and if you are going to have a CPU, if all the processes wants the CPU time, it is not possible for all the processes at a time. So what we are going to do is we are going to allocate one process at a time for the CPU, so that no race condition will be there. So what I mean to say is critical section is the one in which only one process is allowed to execute. Remaining all the processes should wait outside the critical section. So that what we are achieving is we are achieving the goal of only one process to execute by the processor, so that no race condition is going to be there. Race condition is nothing but two processes are fighting, so that the result will be inconsistent. If P1, P2 processes are there, if P1 process execute first, the result will be X, and P2 process execute first, the result will be Y. But we shouldn't get the result X and Y. So if both the processes execute also, we have to get the result only X. Only one result only we have to get. But race condition in the sense, when P1 process executes first, we will be going to get the X result, and P2 process execute first, we are going to get the Y result, which is an incorrect one. So that race condition we are going to avoid. So critical section in the sense, it is a part of a program or a code of a segment where the shared resources is accessed is called a critical section. As we have all seen, here we are going to have a critical section, right? So this is the critical section. So when we are going to have this critical section, and we are also having the non-critical section too. So in critical section, what we are placing? We are placing the shareable code, which is going to share between two or more processes. That code we are going to place in the critical section. This shareable it may be a variable, it may be a resource, or it may be any of the memory location. So whatever it may be, memory or a buffer, we can say it as, fine. So which is going to be shared among the processes are going to be placed in the critical section. Which are not going to be shared, which is applicable only for the individual, is going to be placed in the non-critical section. As I have discussed in a first class of our unit 2, as we are going to have the main program, in main program also we used to have two portions, critical section portion and the non-critical section portion. The variables which are shared among two programs are going to be placed onto the critical section, and the variables which are not shared are going to be placed in the non-critical section. So that is the critical section and the non-critical section. Here what you have to remember is the critical section is the place where shareable items are going to be placed. So that is the thing you have to know you have to remember when it comes to the critical section. So by making use of this critical section, what we are achieving? We are achieving mutual exclusion. So in order to achieve the critical section, what are the necessary things you have to achieve in the sense? First one is mutual exclusion, second one is progress, third one is bounded waiting. These are the three things in order to achieve, in order to have a critical section to be solved. Fine. So all the things we have seen in the last class. So mutual exclusion is nothing but we are going to make only one process to execute. That only one process executing is nothing but we are satisfying the mutual exclusion property. So if one process is using the shared variable or a file, the other process will be excluded. So from doing the same thing, this thing we call it as a mutual exclusion. Fine. So here we will be going to have a semaphore in an operating system. So what do you mean by a semaphore in the sense? So these semaphores are the integer variables that are used to solve the critical section problem. So we have discussed regarding the critical section. Critical section in the sense like only one process should be allowed to execute in the critical section. So by making use of this semaphore, by making use of semaphore we can solve, by making use of monitors we can solve. But let me today we will be going to discuss regarding the semaphore. So what do you mean by a semaphore in the sense? Semaphore is a variable that is used to solve the critical section problem. Like today we will be going to see how this semaphore is going to solve the critical section problem. Here by using two atomic operations, by making use of two operations, this semaphore is used to solve the critical section problem. So what are those two operations? The first one is the wait operation and second one is the signal operation. These are the two terms or two atomic operations that we are going to use in the semaphore. So in the semaphore we will be going to use two atomic operations. The first one is the wait and second one is the signal. So in short, wait in the sense we will be going to decrement, signal in the sense we will be going to increment. So these are the two variables, atomic variables or atomic operations we are going to be used in the semaphores in order to solve the critical section problem. Here what is the definition of an wait? So wait in the sense we are going to decrement by 1 and signal in the sense we are going to increment by 1. So the wait operation decrements the value of its argument s if it is positive. If s is negative or 0, we are not going to do any sort of operations. So the code for wait is wait of s. So what it is going to do is while s is suppose when we are going to talk regarding the semaphore, you have to must and should consider this wait and signal. So here when s is less than or equals to 0, what we are going to do is we are going to decrement that s is an variable, so which is going to be occurring. So when we are going to have the signal in the sense, so s is going to be incremented. So here we are going to increment in the signal and we are going to decrement in the wait signal. So when we are coming to the wait in the sense, we are going to decrement. So by making use of these two variables, wait and signal, we are going to achieve the critical section problem. So here there are two different types of semaphores. So semaphore, what do you mean by semaphore in the sense? It is an variable which is used to solve the critical section problem, right? What are the two atomic operations we are going to use in the sense? We are going to make use of wait and signal. Wait is used for decrementing and signal is used for incrementing. So here there are different types of semaphores. There are two different types of semaphores. The first one is the counting semaphore and the second one is the binary semaphore. So what do you mean by a counting semaphore? So what is the critical section in the sense? Like what we are going to place? We are going to place the shared resources in the critical section, is it not? So when we are going to place the shared resources in the critical section, the semaphore count, like when we are going to talk regarding this counting semaphore, where the semaphore count is the number of available resources, fine. So how many resources are available? So that count, suppose here 8 is the number of available resources. So here is the counting semaphore is 8. So here this 8 represents the count of the semaphore, how many resources are available that count we are going to be available in this counting semaphore. Here if the resources are added, suppose if I have added any one of the resources, that means I have added one resource, now the count is equals to 9. This count, semaphore count, is going to be incremented by 1. Fine. If you are going to add any one of the resources, the semaphore count is going to be incremented by 1. Suppose if any resources has been removed, any resources has been removed, in the sense the semaphore count is going to be decremented by 1. So that is known as counting semaphore. These are integer value semaphore and have an unrestricted value domain. These semaphores are used to coordinate the resource access. So how many resources are there, those accessibility is going to be done by this counting semaphore. If any resources has been added, the semaphore count has been increased by 1. If any resource has been deleted, the semaphore count is going to be decremented by 1. So that is the counting semaphore. And another semaphore also we are having, that is the binary semaphore. So what do you mean by a binary? In the sense, like it is going to hold only two values, that is 0 and 1. Here the binary semaphores are like counting semaphores, but their value is restricted to 0 and 1 only. Here in the counting semaphores, we don't have any restricted on a particular domain. How many resources we are having, that count is fixed to those many resources. If any resources is been added, the count is going to be incremented by 1. If any resource has been deleted, the count is going to be decremented by 1. So that is the counting semaphore. When it comes to the binary semaphore, binary, as the name itself indicates, binary means 2, and it is going to hold only two values, that is 0 and 1. The wait operation works only when the semaphore is 1. Wait in the sense, what we have to do? Wait in the sense, we have to decrement. So the wait operation only works when the semaphore is 1. So if the wait is 0, when we are going to decrement by 1, it is going to minus value. So that is not the case when we are taught in the wait operation. So wait in the sense, only positive value should come. If it is 0 or a negative values, it doesn't do any sort of operation, as we have discussed in the first initial discussion. Fine. So wait and signal are the two operations. When we are going for the wait operation, it should be decremented by 1. It doesn't mean that it should be in the 0 or minus 1. If it is 0 and minus 1, it is going to perform no operation. So here the major condition here we want to specify is, the wait operation only works when the semaphore value is equals to 1. So if it is decremented, then we will get 0. If it is further decremented, it is going to be minus 1, which is not at all considered. No operation is going to be done. And the signal operation succeed when the semaphore is 0. So when the signal means 0. So when we are going to give signal operation, in the sense, it will be incremented by 1. Another signal means it is going to be incremented by 2. It is sometimes easier to implement binary semaphores than counting semaphores. So either we can use binary semaphores for the critical section problem, or we can use counting semaphores for the critical section problem. So here what is our main motto is, what are the resources that are placed in the critical section should be used only by one resource at a time. So that is the main motto of our process synchronization, right? So how we are going to achieve, in the sense, by making use of semaphores. So what are the, how we are going to achieve, in the sense, by making use of binary semaphore we can achieve, or by making use of counting semaphore we can achieve. How we are going to achieve through counting semaphore, in the sense, we are going to have how many resources are there, that count we used to have. If any particular process came and used that resource, like we will be going to have incremented. If no process is going to be using, and if process has removed, that is going to be decremented. So that is the counting semaphore. But when it comes to the binary semaphore, we are going to make use of only two values, 0 and 1. The semaphore value should be 0, then only we can increment it. So 0 increment in the sense 1. When the semaphore value doesn't work, if it is this wait operation only works when the semaphore is 1. So when we want to perform any wait operation, the semaphore value should be 1 in order to perform the wait operation, and the semaphore value should be 0 in order to perform the signal operation. So this is how we will be going to achieve the critical section problem by making use of one of the thing called semaphore. Next here, how in order to achieve that critical section problem, like we have many solutions. So today we will be going to look after one of the solution called Peterson solution, fine. So before that we will be going to see the advantages and disadvantages over here. So what are the advantages of semaphore? In the sense, semaphore allows only one process into the critical section, which is the thing to be very much important, fine. So it allows only one process to execute in the critical section. They follow the mutual exclusion principle and much more efficient than other methods of synchronization. So mutual exclusion principle, in the sense only one process should enter into the critical section. So that is the mutual exclusion. Process, in the sense out of many available processes, like we have to allow the process, like suppose the process progress, in the sense if P1 and P2 are there, if P1 is not willing to enter into the critical section and P2 is willing to enter into the critical section, but what this P1 is doing, this P1 is not allowing P2 to enter into the critical section. So that is the progress condition. So this condition should not be entertained in order to satisfy the critical section problem. And bounded waiting, in the sense if P1 process is doing for 100 times and P2 process has only done for a single time, so this thing we call it as an bounded waiting. Why? Because here P2 process is keep on waiting, but P1 process is doing its task. So this task also we are not going to be entertained. Mutual exclusion, in the sense only one process should enter into the critical section. If these 1, 2, 3 and 3 conditions are satisfied, then only we can solve that critical section problem has been solved. So in order to solve this, all the 3 criterias, in order to satisfy all the 3 criterias, Peterson is the one who has proposed one solution by making use of this semaphores, fine. Why I have given the introduction regarding this semaphores, in the sense Peterson has given a solution that only one process should enter into the critical section to execute. The Peterson solution has satisfied all the 3: mutual exclusion, progress and bounded waiting. So how he has achieved that solution? In the sense, by making use of semaphores, he had achieved that solution. And the second one is, there is no resource wastage because of busy waiting in semaphores, as processor time is not wasted unnecessarily to check if a condition is fulfilled to allow a process to access the critical section. Semaphores are implemented in the machine independent code of microkernel, fine. So these are the advantages we are having in semaphore. We are having a drawback too. But semaphores are complicated. Why? Because wait and signal operations must be done. So in order to not to enter into the deadlock, these wait and signal operations must be handled carefully, or else the system will enter into the deadlock situation. Semaphores may lead to a priority inversion. Why? Because if lower priority process has been executing, then higher priority came, in the sense the inversion may occur. So this is the drawback while using the semaphore. And the advantage is, it is the one it allows only one process to enter into the critical section, and it has solved and it has satisfied the mutual exclusion also. Now we will be going to see the Peterson solution for the critical section problem. So Peterson solution for what? Peterson solution for critical section, fine. We are having many solutions. We will be going to discuss one by one. First of all, this Peterson solution. So what is a Peterson solution? It is, in the sense, it is a classical software based solution to the critical section problem. Why they have mentioned software based? In the sense, like we have a software based solutions as well as hardware based solution. But this Peterson solution is a software based solution. Why? Because a software is nothing but set of instructions. So we are writing a set of instructions in order to execute only one process in the critical section. As we are writing instructions, we are saying that it is a software based solution which is known as a Peterson solution. However, the solution provides a good algorithmic description of solving the critical section problem and addresses the requirements of. So what is the first one? It will be going to address the requirements of, first one is mutual exclusion, next one is progress, and the third one is bounded weighting. So this Peterson solution is the one which is very simple in order to achieve the critical section problem. Achieving the critical section, in the sense, we have to satisfy three conditions. The first one is mutual exclusion, second one is progress, and the third one is bounded weighting. When we have satisfied all the three conditions, then only we can say that the critical section problem is solved, or else we don't, if any of the condition is not satisfied, we will not say that the critical section is solved. As I have said you, the race condition, in the sense, several processes access and manipulate the same data concurrently, and the outcome of execution depends on the order. As I have said you, if two processes P1 and P2 are there, if P1 executes first, the result will be X. If P2 executes first, the result will be Y, which is an incorrect one. So if P1 executes first or P2 executes first, the result should be Z, that is the correct answer. So race condition, we have to avoid the race condition. So here that is the, we have discussed the critical section. So before any process enters, it has to execute the entry code first. After executing the entry section, then it has to execute the critical section. Then after executing the code in the critical section, it has to exit the section. So remainder section, in the sense, the code which is not there and the code which is not placed in the critical section will be going to place in the remainder section in order to complete the task. So this whole thing we call it as a critical section. So this is how the critical section is going to execute. So before executing the critical section, we have to execute the entry section. After executing the critical section, we have to execute the exit section. Fine. So Peterson solution. So here Peterson solution is restricted to two processes. This is the drawback of this Peterson solution. So the drawback over here is Peterson has proposed a solution for the critical section. Okay, it's well and good. But what is the drawback of this Peterson solution is, Peterson has suggested a solution that if only two processes are there, for that only he suggested a solution. For n number of processes, this Peterson solution will not work. For n number of processes, this Peterson solution will not work for n number of processes. Peterson solution will work only for two processes. If two processes are there, then only the Peterson solution is going to work. Here, what is his solution? The processes are numbered P0 and P1. Here he has taken two processes P0 and P1. So for convenience, when presenting Pi, we use Pj. Fine. To denote the other process, that is j is equals to I minus 1. So here Peterson has used two variables, shared variables, that is the turn and the flag. So turn is one variable and flag is one variable. Fine. Turn is one variable and the flag is one variable. So here the variable turn indicates whose turn to enter into the critical section. Here he has used two variables, two shared variables. First of all, we have to mention that two shared variables. Shared variables means those are in the critical section. So two shared variables are there. By making use of these two variables, like he will be going to decide which process to enter into the critical section and which process to execute the shared resources. So turn and flag, two variables are turn and flag. Turn indicates which turn, whose turn, that is it process P0 turn or P1 turn. So turn indicates whose turn is process P0 turn or P1 turn. And what is the flag indicates who is interested, to enter into critical section. So these are the two variables he has used. Do remember that turn means whose turn. Like if you are waiting in a queue, which turn you are having, like fifth turn or sixth turn, that means turn. Whose turn? Here only two processes are there in the sense whose turn, like P0 turn or P1 turn. Flag in the sense who is interested to enter into the critical section. Either P0 is interested to enter into the critical section or P1 is interested to enter into the critical section. That is the meaning of turn and flag. Make the difference. So turn in the sense whose turn. If turn equals to 0 in the sense, now it is of process P0 turn to enter into the critical section. Flag is equals to true in the sense flag of 1 equals to true in the sense process P1 wants to enter into the critical section. So that's why it has indicated, or it is going to give an indication by making or setting the flag value. Fine. If turn is equals to I, that means process Pi is allowed to execute in its critical section. So if turn is equals to J, then process Pj is allowed to enter into the critical section. So that is the turn. Here when it comes to the second variable, this is the flag variable. It is used to indicate if a process is interested to enter into the critical section or not. Suppose if I is equals to true, flag of I is equals to true in the sense process Pi is interested to enter into the critical section. Suppose if flag of J is equals to true, that means this process Pj is interested to enter into the critical section. If any of the process has set its flag to true, that means that that process is interested to enter into the critical section. So here the shared variables are flag 0 and flag 1, which are initialized to false initially. Here the flag 0 and flag 1 are initially set to false. So this is the thing you have to remember, because neither process is not interested to enter into the critical section initially. The shared variable turn is set either to 0 or 1 randomly. So if process P0 wants, if it is the turn of process P0, then it is set to 0. If it is set to 1. If process P1 means, then it is set to 1. Like this, turn and flag variables are going to set and reset according to their convenience. Fine. Here is the solution. What is the solution given by the Peterson is, here is the solution of Peterson solution. Fine. So initially what we have kept, flag of 0 and flag of 1 is equals to false initially. Fine. So here first what is the solution is flag of I is equals to true. Flag in the sense what I have said, that means this I process is interested to enter into the critical section. Flag of I in the sense this I is interested to enter into critical section. Flag indicates the process is interested to enter into critical section. Turn is equals to J in the sense which turn, but the turn is of J now. The turn, it is of Jth turn, but I process willing to enter into the critical section. We will check that flag of J is equals to true and turn is equals to J. Flag of J is equals to true. True in the sense like it is true and turn is equals to J. Here this J process is interested to enter into the critical section and turn is also the J process. Then what this I process has to do is, I process has to wait. Now J process will enter into the critical section. Fine. So it, after completing this, it will be going to exit out of the section. For suppose this is the first condition. If flag of J is equals to true and turn is equals to J means then J enters into the critical section. I has to wait. Fine, this is the first condition. Second condition is, suppose if flag of j is equals to false, if flag of j is equals to false and turn is equals to j, end operation in the sense if both true only, then the operation will perform. Here this is false and this is true. Now I will enter into the critical section and j has to wait. Fine. Now if this condition is false and this condition is true, suppose flag of j is equals to true. True in the sense if it is true and turn is also true, then j process will enter. And second case, if flag of j is equals to false and turn is equals to true, false and true in the sense false. So this condition is false, then I process will enter into the critical section. Now I process will enter into the critical section. It is going to do the task. After completing the task, the flag of I is going to be false. Why? Because it has done everything. So flag of I is equals to false in the sense it is giving chance to the j process now. Then remainder section while true, till the instruction is true, this operation is going to be executed. Here if you have seen in the sense only one process is going to enter into the critical section, either I process or either j process. Both the process are not going to enter into the critical section at a time. This only entering one process, that means the mutual exclusion we have achieved. Fine. Let us see this. Here we are having two Boolean variables like flag of 0 and flag of 1, both are set to false. Int, it is an integer variable, it is a turn. Initially flag of 0 is equals to true. That means 0th P0 process wishes to enter into the critical section, but the turn is of P1 turn. Now we are checking flag of 1 equals to true and turn equals to 1. What is the flag of 1 over here? Flag of 1 is equals to true. So and turn is equals to 1. So here which process will enter? P1 process will enter into the critical section and executes the task. Then suppose if a flag of 1 is equals to false and turn is equals to 1 in the sense, then P0 process will enter into the critical section. Then after executing the critical section, it is going to make the flag as false. Initially here the flag of 0 is false and turn is equals to 0. So here which process will enter into the critical section? P1 process will enter into the critical section, and after executing the code, P1 will come out and sets the flag to false. This is how we will be going to make only one process to execute. So in order to have a much more clear, flag of 0 is equals to true, turn is equals to 1. Check flag of 1 is equals to true and turn equals to 1. Condition is false. Why? Because we have initialized flag of 1 as false initially. So here it is condition is false. Then since condition is false, no waiting in the while loop. So enter the critical section, process 0 happens to lose the processor. And next here when it comes to process P1, flag of 1 is equals to true. That means P1 process wishing to enter into the critical section, but turn is 0. Here we are going to check the flag of 0 is equals to 2 and turn is equals to 0. Since the condition is true, it keeps busy until the processor loses its turn. So this is how we will be going to happen. Next, process 0 resumes and continues until it finishes the critical section, leaves the critical section and start executing the remainder section. Process 0 happens to lose the processor. Then this check the flag 0 true and turn is equals to 0. The condition is false, so no more busy waiting, enter the critical section. Like this we will be going to make only one process to enter into the critical section. So either P0 will enter or P1 will enter. How we are going to check in the sense? By making use of semaphore. So what do you mean by a semaphore in the sense? It is one of the remedy for the critical section by making use of two variables, wait and signal. Wait in the sense we will be going to decrement, signal in the sense we will be going to increment. So by making use of this flag variable and a turn variable, we have achieved the mutual exclusion property. Fine. So the eventual value of turn determines which of the two processes is allowed to enter its critical section. Now we prove that the solution is correct. We need to show that mutual exclusion is preserved, progress is achieved, bounded waiting is requirement is done. Mutual exclusion in the sense, as it is seen clearly, only one process, either P0 process is allowed or P1 process is allowed, so that we are going to achieve the mutual exclusion. Second one is progress. Progress in the sense, out of all processes, we have to allow the processes which are willing, which are interested to enter into the critical section within no limit, no time limit. On the spot we have to take a decision, and we have to say that, like out of many of the processes, like suppose P1, P2, P3, like that processes are there. Out of these many available processes, which processes are eagerly, wishing this P0 and P1 process are there. So we have to give time for this P0 and P1 processes. So many processes are there, but here this we are considering only two processes. Why? Because here the Peterson solution is only available for two processes, and within no time we are responding to these two processes. So that's the reason we have achieved the progress condition. And third one is bounded waiting. Bounded waiting in the sense, here first P0 has done and next P1 has done, or else first P1 will be doing or next P0 will be doing, but we are not waiting any of the processes for a long time. So that is the bounded waiting. This is also we have achieved by making use of this Peterson solution. So this is how we will be going to say that Peterson solution is the solution in order to achieve the critical section problems. So in order to satisfy the critical section, in the sense, in order to satisfy three conditions: mutual exclusion, progress and bounded waiting. If all the three conditions are satisfied, in the sense, then only we can say that critical section problem is solved. But what is the drawback of this Peterson solution is, Peterson has proposed a solution when only two processes are there. If more than two processes are there, means this Peterson solution will not work. So this is how we will be going to have the introduction for the semaphores and the Peterson solution. In the next class, we will be going to see another solution in which we can solve this critical section problem. Thank you all students. That's all for today. Have a nice day.